hello everyone, and welcome to another spooky episode of Let's Chat About Death. It is Chris, and I'm the only one on the panel today, which is fine. We come to the time of the year where a lot of people do celebrate Halloween. Some like it, some dislike it, some just couldn't be bothered, which is fine too. And I'm actually really interested to know, where did it actually come from? We know that there's ghosts and goons and witches and pumpkins and all things scary that tend to float around this time. So, did you know that Halloween has been around for more than 1,000 years? Wow, that is huge. Absolutely. It became very popular, especially around the religious side of things. I think it was more to turn religions away. Like, so for people that weren't religious in any way, it was like, wow, like I'm a witch and I have my own side of things. So, and look, the thing is too, is we're not going to know 100%, because the thing is with that is a lot of the people that were around then are no longer with us. So it's a little bit of Chinese whispers of knowing exactly what it is from, but it originates back from the ancient Celtic festival, which was held on November the 1st. And it is believed that on that day, the souls of the dead returned to their homes. Wow. So people dressed in costumes and lit bonfires to ward off spirits. So it was a protection. That was, wow, that's very interesting. In this way, then the popular Halloween troops such as witches, ghosts, and goblins became associated with the holiday. I want to know how we actually got the holiday. Well, for those overseas that do have a holiday because of it, or even just the day itself. I know in Australia there's a lot of people that do, put out the fake webbing, and they all dress up. The kids go out and they do trick or treat. I don't think I've ever actually had someone say to me, "Oh, I don't want the treat. I want a trick." Like, yeah, I don't know about you, but I've never ever had that. To be honest, I think the biggest thing for us as a family was not that we don't celebrate. It's a bit of fun. It's a bit of fun, like with everyone, when you see people dressed up, and obviously for what we do for an occupation as well, there's that stigma against, ghosts and souls and witches and all sorts of things, or anything paranormal basically comes out at this time. But when it comes to our kids, I think because of society, don't let strangers go near your children. But the other thing is too is, I guess if you're in a pack and we all give lollies and things like that. But how do you know that people aren't making candy or lollies, whatever you want to call it? And then, because I've heard lots and lots of stories of kids actually getting drugged by it. Not to put a stigma on it. I don't want people thinking, "Oh, that's a bit," but it's more just be very cautious. But let's go back to the reason why. Now, the custom of trick or treating, in which as we were saying, children dress up in costume, and then are able to get treats from neighbors, became popular in the United States in the early 20th century. See, now I've got death and all that on my mind. So 20th century, and these people would dress up in costume and tell a joke, recite a poem, or perform some other trick. Might even been a piece of magic in exchange for a piece of fruit or another treat. So it's gone from fruit and veg to lollies of some description. Today, Halloween is one of the biggest holidays for lolly sales in the United States. Everything that seems to happen is very big in the United States. So let's get a little bit into, so I guess, the darker side of Halloween. We tend to attribute what we do as fun and exciting, and it's great for the kids and great for adults and all of that. But there is a darker side to it, which, always tends to be. So obviously, as we said, the ancient Celtic festival, where those people would light bonfires and wear costumes to ward off the ghosts. So in the 8th century, Pope Gregory III, he said that November 1st is a time to honour All Saints. Soon, All Saints' Day incorporated some of the traditions in that festival, and it was said that the evening before was known as All Hallows Eve, and later Halloween. Over time, Halloween then evolved into the day of activities like the trick-and-treating, carving jack-o'-lanterns, so the pumpkins, festival gathering, donning on the costumes, and eating food and lollies. So, like we said, the Celts that lived back 2,000 years ago, mostly in the area that was now Ireland, the United Kingdom and Northern France, celebrated Halloween on the 1st. Now, we celebrate Halloween on the 31st. I want to know why there is that difference, but it might have been just because of how it was going to end in the countries that did it before all of us. So this day marked the end of summer and the harvest and the beginning of a dark, cold winter, a time of the year that was often associated with human death. That probably makes sense. In addition to causing trouble and damaging their crops, they thought that the presence of spirits made it easier for the Druids or the Celtic priests to make predictions about the future. Wow, that is certainly interesting. For people dependent on the volatile natural world, these prophecies were an important source of comfort during that long, dark winter. Now, you got to remember, well, we won't remember because we weren't around, but 2,000 years ago, even 100 years ago, the way that illnesses were, medication was like, so these people come into where it's dark, the sun's not around, there's none of this medication, so they'd end up passing away. Became a very scary moment for them. So I can see why they say, there is scared, everyone is scared because of people passing away and all the loom and gloom. So the Druids built huge sacred bonfires where the people gathered to burn crops and animals as sacrifices to the Celtics. During the celebration, the Celts wore costumes, typically consisting of animal heads and skins, and attempted to tell each other's fortunes. Far out. When the celebration was over, they relit their fires, which had extinguished earlier that evening from the sacred bonfire, to help protect them during the coming winter. So they just maintained that same fire all through winter to ward off those evil spirits. The other side, sorry about that pause. I was just trying to get back to what I was going to get to. Wow. See, it's all a lot of it comes back. A lot about religion too. So All Souls Day was celebrated with once again big bonfires, parades, and dressing up in costumes as saints, angels, and including devils. So you often will find a lot of people dressing up as devils. The night before, the traditional night, began with the celebration of everything that was happening. But you know what? Halloween was limited to some areas around the world because their belief was that they didn't want to initiate. They didn't want to say, "Hey, we're here. Come and get us." Like it was, yeah. So yeah, they didn't want to have witches, and little did they know that they actually had those witches, floating around, so to speak. You like that, floating around? So yeah, around the world, it just became so different. The trick or treating, like I said, offering a trick to get a piece of fruit or another item that was huge. The pumpkins, I mean, that obviously would represent the harvest. And for some reason, my phone's just going like that. But anyway, disregard that. They even would make food, and even pastry or like pasties and things like that. And they actually called it soul cakes. So it was like feeding the souls. And they promised to pray for the family's dead relatives when they were eating this. So the distribution of soul cakes was encouraged by the church as a way to replace the ancient practice of leaving food and wine for roaming spirits. But we do that for Santa. So what does that mean? That'll be another episode. We'll be talking about Santa. The practice, which was referred to as going a souling, was eventually taken up by children who would visit the houses in the neighborhood, and they'd be given alcohol, food, and money. How did we just get the lollies? We didn't get alcohol or anything else like that. Interesting. The tradition of dressing in costume was mainly for the Europeans and the Celtics. Hundreds of years ago, winter was an uncertain and frightening time, and it would have been. We were just saying that before. And often the food supplies were often very low, and for many people, they were afraid of the dark, and it was very short days of winter, and they were full of that constant worried about, are they going to wake up tomorrow? On Halloween, it was believed that ghosts came back to the earthly world. People thought that they would encounter ghosts if they left their homes. To avoid being recognized by these ghosts, people would wear masks when they left their homes after dark, so the ghosts would mistake them for fellow spirits. Wow. I was like, I don't know about you if you knew half of this stuff, but this is, I'm in it now. On Halloween, to keep these ghosts away from their houses, people would place bowls of food outside their homes to prevent the spirits from attempting to enter. That's interesting. The other thing that is, I guess, represented with everything else with Halloween, but is black cats. So Halloween has been given a holiday with mystery, magic, and superstition. And we're only going by what's been written. So they say, try not to walk under ladders, try to avoid crossing paths with black cats, afraid that they might bring us bad luck. This idea of the black cats stems back from the Middle Ages, when many people believed that witches avoided detection by turning themselves into black cats. Yeah, you cheeky witches. Yes. The other thing was mirrors. And around obviously Halloween, especially, we try to avoid breaking mirrors, stepping on cracks in the road, or spilling salt. Now, I'm sure you all sitting out there, or standing, or walking, or driving, have all seen grandparents or parents they've spilt some salt, and then they throw it over their left shoulder. Now, I'm sure some of you are nodding now, going, yep, I didn't know where that came from. That is a superstition. Now, that comes from all these Halloween days. So even when you're thinking about, don't walk under a ladder because that's superstition. Don't walk in front of a black cat. Breaking of a mirror will give you 7 years bad luck. But you even see, people, being very cautious about on the road, and not stepping on cracks and things like that. The other thing too is that fortune tellers became a big thing back then too. I mean, separate from, gypsies and all of that. But in Scotland, young ladies would tend to be the ones that would be more the fortune tellers than the men. And they were, there is another tale that young women would actually eat sugary items made out of walnuts, hazelnuts, and nutmeg before they went to bed on Halloween night. So it would assist them if anything came towards them. But the other side of that is they say that it would actually make them dream about their future husbands if they weren't already courted. So you go from eating sugary food at night before you go to bed for two reasons. A, I don't want anyone coming into my bed that is supernatural. But then I want to dream, I don't know. Look, it's a bit of Chinese whispers, isn't it? A lot to do with nuts, chestnuts. The first guest to enter would find a burr on a chestnut. That would mean that it would be the first to marry. The first successful apple blobber would be the first down the aisle. So bobber, not blobber, bobber. And that's where bobbing for apples came in. Put your apples in a big bucket or a big trough, fill it with water. Then you go bobbing for apples. I didn't know that. I just thought that someone went, oh, wow, there's an apple floating. Let's make that into a game. But there you go. So a lot to do with romance too. The Halloween superstitions, the goodwill, the spirits, those presents, the early Celtics felt so keenly on that it was going to attract the right partner for each of them. Wow. It just goes on and on. So I'd be actually interested to know if you celebrate Halloween, and if you do, have a think about, when you are dressing, or even with your children, things like that there's a reason. And I hope you've learnt something today with it. I certainly have. I'll tell you now. I didn't think that it was like that, but there you go. Well, today's episode was a short one, but coming into Halloween, I just thought I'd share that with you, and I hope you've learnt something. So for those people that don't follow us on TikTok, go and do that. Let's Chat About Death, Bremba Family Funerals. The other thing is we've got Let's Chat About Death merchandise that you can find online as well in our Shopify account. Let's Chat About Death. Lots of spooky and kooky items that you can buy on there. Yeah. If not, I hope you will join us for our following episodes. Thank you for listening. Bye for now.